Stephen A. Smith tried making Draymond the victim after Draymond said he wanted to retire. Shannon Sharpe wasn't having that. Take a look.
What do you make of Draymond contemplating retirement?
Nothing. Not a thing.
Great, I'm glad we did this topic.
Moment. No. What I mean by that, Molly, is that probably in that moment, because he can be emotional at times, you know, in the moment he might have felt at that particular second, man, I don't need this anymore. I made enough money. But it disappeared in a nanosecond once that brother saw the money that he would be leaving on the table, and that was not going to happen.
Well, I don't know Draymond. I've seen him a couple of times, had a little conversation with him, so I don't pretend to know him that well. But this is what I will tell you. So you're willing to walk away, which I don't believe either, Stephen A. You're walking away from, you're in the first year of a $100 million deal. So you got at least $70 to $75 million remaining. So you're willing to walk away from $70 to $75 million because you still want to chin check teammates. Or you want to pretend like you flailing your arm, like you're trying to free your arm, and you're going to hit a guy upside the head. So you're going to walk away from, you know, almost $100 million because you want to continue to behave in that manner. Who believes that? Who? Nobody. Look, I get it. You're like, well, Draymond has to play on the... No, Draymond does not have to play on the edge. You don't have to chin check a teammate because he's got the best of you in a joning session. You don't have to try to pretend like you're trying to free yourself because Nurkic got you hooked and you're trying to free your arm. You don't have to do that, bro. And so instead of for you to say, you know what, I'm going to change my behavior. Nah, I'm going to quit. Who does that? So, Draymond, you've gotten everything you could have possibly hoped for. All the commissioners saying Draymond. I mean, and the Warriors, Draymond. Bro, you can't punch your teammates because you lost the roasting session.
You're touching on sensitive lines, Shannon, and I think that both of us need to talk about this in this respect. As a black man, when you are confronted with the consequences of your actions, it's one thing to get suspended. I don't think that's what had Draymond, and I haven't talked to him about this just so everybody knows, but I don't think it's about the suspension. When the label is therapy, you need help. And that kind of narrative is something that you believe is created about you. It can hit you in a very sensitive way. I can tell you, when you heard that narrative about him, I got uncomfortable about it. Because, let's put it out there on Front Street, we see white dudes acting up all the damn time. And we don't hear about them needing help, needing therapy,
well, that's the easy way out.
But when
that's
it came to him,
Stephen A.
Yeah, I understand, but I'm just saying, you're thinking along those lines, and that might have been what he was reacting to. And I think that needs to be mentioned.
Okay, if he's saying he doesn't need therapy, so what should his consequences be for Joe Jack and his teammate and for knocking Nurkic upside his head? And a continuation.
No, that's not what I'm saying.
But all I'm saying, Stephen A., if this was a one-off, if the first time he had ever did anything was Jordan Poole, or take Jordan Poole out of it, if the first time he ever done something was Nurkic, given his history, that's what you do. He's what we call a repeat offender.
Yeah, but I'm not debating that. I'm not debating that with you. I'm just talking about in the moment that you are in front of the commissioner and they're telling you that it's an indefinite suspension and your return is contingent upon X, Y, and Z. I'm saying in that moment, regardless of what you're saying, which is factually correct, makes total sense. I'm not disagreeing with it. I'm saying if you're in that moment and you are in that room and you're receiving that kind of narrative from people who look differently than you, it affects you, particularly if you're a young, prideful black man that finds yourself in that kind of position. And I think that's what you take into consideration. I'm not saying it's right. Yeah. I'm saying that's what he might have been thinking at that moment, and that's why he reacted that way, even though you and I both know he wasn't going to retire.
Stephen A., can I put it to you like this? If you love something or someone and they said, in order for this thing to continue, I'm going to need you to do this. What wouldn't you be willing to do? If you love something as much as Draymond says he loves basketball, what wouldn't you be willing to do to save it? If you're in a relationship and your partner says, you know what, baby, I love you, but we got to go sit down and we got to talk to somebody. If you love that person as much as you say you do, what wouldn't you be willing to do, Stephen A? That's all I'm saying.
It might have just been too much for him, all of it. Feeling like you got to change the way you play, the noise of this or that he's playing. Yeah, and it can be overwhelming, and you might be like, hey, I want a timeout. I get where he's coming from.
Stephen A., what are you talking about? The mental health thing was a cop-out by the NBA to give Draymond a shorter suspension. They did that to help Draymond, to make him look like the victim, like he's not responsible for his own actions. Now you're saying that's a bad thing for Draymond? Shannon Sharpe even said, that's the easy way out, Stephen A. The hard way is to take accountability for your actions and change your behavior. It seems like Stephen A. is just doing whatever it takes to help his friend Draymond Green, grabbing at straws and making any excuse he can come up with, while Shannon Sharpe, who doesn't know Draymond, is just telling the truth. The NBA was wrong for speculating about Draymond's mental health, but the only reason they did that is because the NBA doesn't like punishing its players, so they gave Draymond a built-in excuse and found a reason to give him a shorter suspension. They even admitted it's about helping Draymond, not punishing him. They also gave the media an excuse to defend Draymond. He's the helpless victim. He's not responsible for his own actions, so how can you hold him accountable when he punches someone in the face? I'm actually kind of impressed that Stephen A. managed to spin this and make it seem like a shot at Draymond, when it couldn't be further from the truth. It's the complete opposite. I think even Draymond knows that, and that's why he's playing into it and saying that he wanted to retire. I don't believe for 1 second that Draymond wanted to retire. He just knows that playing the victim is the easiest way out of this and the best for his image. It would not be easy for Draymond to just admit that he's hurting people on the court on purpose. He's committing these acts intentionally and they're calculated. But that's just what I think. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of Draymond saying that he wanted to retire. And don't forget to leave a like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more NBA content just like this. And I will see you in the next upload.